All right, so a lot has happened this one week, and one of the biggest news articles, or one of the biggest news topics that's been happening that this whole week was DC Blackout. Now, for those who don't know, or you know, are into comic books or don't know much about the comic book world, DC Blackout is basically where is a boycott of buying up any DC comics until they have a ongoing black led main continuity comic book run that lasts over 2 years. Yes, the comic has to last 2 years. And the reason why it's that is because DC hasn't had an ongoing black main continuity run in their comic book line in over 1,200 days. And they're going to boycott any buying up any DC comic. Which in my head, I'm thinking, that's kind of noble. Something to do, just to have this way more black representation is being spread whatsoever, right? This boycott lasted 2 days. Yes, guys, 2 days of boycotting DC comics. I know this isn't funny. It is a serious. Yes, I want a leading main continuity black-led comic. Yes, I truly do want one. And to me, I think this was before I get ahead of myself. What I was from the leader of this boycott, Blair, his YouTube channel, he basically just told a reason why. And basically, they were threatened to just stop all of this. And from my understanding, Blair is also an indie black comic book writer, and I guess he doesn't want to get blackballed in the comic book realm in general. So they kind of just ended it. I mean, he compared it to what happened to the New History of Dakotaverse, which basically just made all of milestone characters into the main continuity, into the main continuity. Those who didn't read that comic book, you should all give it a chance, give it a read, because now that milestone characters are officially in the DC main line, that means DC can now make stories about these characters. They haven't made one yet, but I'm assuming they are. I'm not gonna assume, because at the end of the DC of the New History of Dakota, New History of you guys know what I'm talking about. DC New History of Dakota's whatever, right? At the end of that, you get to see Static taking up his suiting up, and for those who don't know, Static has just been introduced into the Titans, not the Teen Titans. The Titans, because everybody here are a bunch of grown-ups here. They're not teens anymore. They're all pushing 30. So he's part of the Titans. They're all in their 20s/30s. So yes, they're the Titans, and now he's part of that team. Now, if you ask me, this to me seems like it's going to be a precursor to having a static main continuity static run. And actually, they actually did a static. Well, it was a DC Black Label, non-continuity, but they actually did a static, and yeah, they technically did a static comic. It's called Batman Static Beyond, written by Evans Narcisse, and artist by Nicholas Draper Ivy and Miguel Mendoza. Now, why am I bringing up this series? Well, I really do think this series is severely underrated, and I think it's due to the fact that it is considered a Black Label series. Now, what makes this series great is the fact that it looks like it's an amalgamation of the DCAU. For those who don't know what the DCAU is, that's like shows like Static Shock, Batman, the animated series, Superman, the animated series, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited, so on and so on. It's a mixture of that universe along with milestone characters that's not just static, such as Icon and Livewire, things like that nature. Those characters are all involved in this book. Now, what this comic talks about, it talks about how they're joining an alien organization called the Cooperative, which is going to grant them new technology that can help there. And with them being part of the Cooperative, they get to be joined in the advanced technology, which can help save the planet from slowly dying. Now, Virgil and the rest of it, and some other great minds, has helped them. And within this story, you get to see great characters like you see Big Barda, you get to see Warhawk. For those who don't know who Warhawk is and you didn't watch the DCAU, Warhawk is the love child, is not the love child, the son of Shira, aka Hawk Girl, and Jon Stewart's Green Lantern. Yes, they have a child. This, if you guys watch that one episode about being Justice League, Justice League Unlimited, you get to see that episode. But I digress. Though you get to see them, you get to see them going through the adventures through space, and alongside them, you get to also see Superman in the Batman Beyond fit with Icon, without the cape. But whatever, I think he looks clean without the cape. This is where I say this series is strongest. You get to see the beautiful artwork by Nicholas Draper Ivy, and you get to see the great paneling. This is where and you get to see some, and it gives you a little bit backstory of what's going on here. Unfortunately, they failed, and they didn't really live up to a par to make them join the Alliance. So a group of them get to go to the Alliance headquarters, and the rest, a small group of them, has to go back. And before I continue, yes, Batman Beyond's along with them. And one thing I do is they keep it very similar to the show with his antics of him getting sick on the flight there. Now with them, not properly being indoctrinated into the Alliance, like I said before, group of them go back, they'll come back in. You get to see them back on Earth, and then yes, when you get to meet their the antagonist of the story, Melvin, who becomes Shut Down, the villain. Now, one thing this series does is they do a great job of showing the connection between Static and also Batman. The reason why the connection within him and Batman is due to the fact that Melvin goes to the same high school as Tracy McGinnis, and Tracy saves him from getting bullied. And one thing that I do connection them with Static is the fact that how Melvin gets his powers. Now, for those who don't know, those you guys obviously don't know because no one really read this except for a select group of people. Melvin is part of this protest group. Now, this protest group is against this power source called the Q Grids. Now, the Q Grid was created to help to become another form of power system to help the people of Neo Gotham. But the cons of that is the Q Grids are powered by this material called the Q Juice. Now, the leader of the protest group that Melvin is part of his name is Darrell, and Darrell informed his followers that the Q Juice is made out of the same material that created the Bang Babies. So he believes that this thing, if it leaks, can spread and it can mutate a bunch of other normal civilians and turn them into, quote unquote, from his words, kaijus, or freaks. Now, if you ask me personally, if there's gonna be another power system in the world that is 100% guaranteed to turn me into a superhero, I'm all for it. I mean, who doesn't want superpowers? Am I wrong? The only con is I don't know what kind of power I'm gonna have, and that's the frightening part. I want something cool. I don't want like something lame, like I turn into like Goop or something like that. But I digress, though. Now, the reason why the Q Grid is created is because a lot of people's homes their energy sources are being siphoned out because of all the data centers. The data centers in Neo Gotham are literally taking so much energy from the citizens who live in Neo Gotham, making it very difficult for them to have consistent power. So they have random blackouts, and the Q Grid is designed to help those citizens. So this way they don't have to have random blackouts throughout the day because of the AI data centers that are basically siphoning them all their juice. This kind of sounds like something that's going to happen to us in a few years. But if we can have superpowers, I'm down. But again, I want to be able to control my powers. So this is where Melvin he's joined up as part of this one protest group he does this protest. The Joker gang pulls up. For those who don't know, this is a good shout out to the series of Batman Beyond where the Joker gang pulls in. It's like the first episode of those who actually watched the show, and they pull up into this protest where Tracy McGinnis just happens to be there, and he has to fight them off. But while also fighting them off, an explosion happens. So before we continue on, before the attack, when Tracy first saved Melvin from getting attacked by a bully, he gave them his number to say, "Hey, hit me up whenever you need my help." So Tracy was there well, not was there. He was just happening to be around the vicinity when they were being attacked by the Joker gang. As Batman, he comes in and he tries to fight off all the rest of the Joker gangs. And while Melvin was desperately trying to ask him for, call Tracy for help, an explosion happens, which pushes Melvin into this ocean of chemicals, which affects him. And then that's when he gets his superpowers. Not ocean, but like this water, like a flooding of this like liquid that affects him. And that's when he gets his powers during his protest. This is very similar to Stag, to what happened to him when he got his powers, when he was during his Big Bang protest, where him and a bunch of gang members were fighting, and then a bunch of members from the military spread that poison and created a bunch of Bang babies. So this is where the connection of him and Static come in. Now in this story, Melvin is a tortured soul who's an outcast who doesn't necessarily belong into any sort of social group. So he's against, the future of again, he's, like I said before prior, he doesn't like technology, he doesn't like modern day technology and also AI. So you get to see, and it just shows off how in the backstory of him and how tragic that is. And also his family also work a lot in a company that is, again, that uses AI, and his parents are always working, so he never really spends time with his family. And he also, which makes him feel double alienated, not just from his peers, but also his family, his mother and father, who again are not that they don't like him, they do love him, and they do wish to have the best for him. They even used to go on the cabin out in the wilderness, just them three, away from it all. But he hasn't been able to experience that recently due to the fact that they're always consistently working and he doesn't get time to see them, which tells us why he hates technology even more. So he gets his powers, which is shutdown, which is basically telekinesis in a sense. Like, he can't read minds, but it's like electric telekinesis. Like, he can make force fields, he can fly, and he can teleport, and he can also absorb energy and release a plasma beam and release it back at people with plasma beams. Now the cons of this is his powers really do injure him. So as his ability allows him to absorb energy out, which causes the whole city blackout throughout the whole city of Dakota, and I think also Gotham as well. Yeah, blackout between them, which I don't know how Dakota and Gotham works. Like, isn't like Gotham in New Jersey? But I digress though. You get to see how powerful he is, but also inexperienced he is as well with his powers. And this series, in my opinion, is actually a very good series. Do I like Melvin? I think Melvin is an alright antagonist. I mean, his story is somewhat tragic, but it's anything out of the norm, nothing too gruesome. And also, the story does do a great job of showing the relationship between Static and also Batman Beyond, and also other milestone characters that get involved, like eBay. I'm probably Miss Ebon. No, it's Ebon. My bad, guys. I watched the show, guys. Richie, who again, okay, so like I said before, Richie's not in the original Milestone. Richie is based off another character in Milestone, but Richie is the character in the Static Show TV, which is what this book is primarily getting majority of their characterization from. And when I say characterization from, you can, as I continue about this series, I want to say that people can come in and think this is basically just that's a nostalgia bait thing, where it's just, else world of the old DCAU. And again, the surface comes here. Number one, the new suit Static gets actually reminisce his old suit. Not this suit, I mean his old suit that's in the comic. This new suit that they give him after his fight was shut down actually does reminisce his old original suit, which is in the Milestone. And I do like the new Batman suit. That new Batman suit they gave him is fire. And I mean fire. It has been, and yes, the aura farming in this series is 10 out of 10. And then, I do like my aura farming here or there. and the paneling in this is also phenomenal. Nicholas Draper Ivy and Miguel Mendoza really put their foot in when they were doing the artwork and the paneling. Well, somewhat, because the first two issues, Nicholas Draper Ivy, he kind of very inconsistent in the first two issues when it comes to the artwork. At one moment, it's very nice, and then the other part, you get to see things where it looks very juvenile, like someone just kind of like, it looks like someone scrapbook, like someone just like practice drawing, and you get to see that there, which is something I dislike. Which kind of, again, if you're gonna be like a main continuity, you can't have stuff artwork like this, man. You have to be more polished, man. Every work has to be nice. And I'm not just saying that because I don't think Nicholas Draper Ivy is a bad artist. I think he's a really good artist. I've seen some of his work in other like issues he's done in other books. But this, there are times where it looks phenomenal, and then it starts to look pretty subpar, pretty horrendous. That's another issue. Number 2, this series, again, nothing groundbreaking. The ending is very campy, kind of safe, nothing too great. And I honestly think he could have did a little bit more with Melvin, but maybe it's because maybe due to the fact that it's only a 6-issue series, he couldn't really do much to make it more tragic. Because I do know Evan Narcisse can actually do some, more intense writing. But again, maybe he wasn't probably was allowed to, or maybe he's because of the 6-issue series. But all in all, he did do a good job of fleshing his character out. This isn't really a nothing burger series. I think this is just a very above average series. I like a B+, a very above average series, very entertaining. And it's not, and if you're someone who's a fan of like the DCAU back in the day, this might be a very strong comic for you to read. This is kind of tated. This is gonna, lean towards you. This is gonna be again favored you. I mean, it favored me because I grew up watching that, so it favored me heavy. If you're someone who wants some sort of milestone, a taste of something milestone, this is also somewhat of a good thing. If you're a mouse, so it'll get your foot a little wet. Someone who wants to, a milestone fan who wants some sort of milestone, this is it. I mean, after the DC history of Dakota in DC, this should be your next best. This should be like, it can crave. It'll satisfy you. It's something groundbreaking, but it'll satisfy you. It's fun. It's a fun read. This series is a fun read. Now, the other con that I dislike about this is the fact that Virgil is very serious in this series. Like, very serious. Almost to a point where it's almost uncharacteristically serious he is. Now, I get it. He's older. But again, in the original DCAU, when they were in the future, he was still a bit jokey here or there.
Shayera was one cranky pregnant lady. Although, to be fair, if I'd laid an egg that size...
He's kidding, Dad.
Virgil has to crack jokes. He has to be somewhat lighthearted. Another thing I dislike was there was barely any Batman. Because everyone who watched the original Batman Beyond, Bruce Wayne always is coaching Tracy McGinnis to be Batman, and he talks to him in his ear. There was almost hardly ever any of that. And I get it. Shut down, took off the static wavelength off in the world. That's fine. But you couldn't use radio towers? Like, Bruce Wayne isn't smart enough to have like a radio signal or something? I mean, Bruce is the man of prep time. I mean, he's a man of contingencies. He should have thought of a backup if something happens, if he can't reach his protege. And again, the ending isn't very great. It's very subpar, and some of the twists wasn't I kind of predicted, but it was entertaining. This is a very fun read, and I give it a B, a B+. Fun read. Should read, and anyone who wants something to do with Milestone or is a fan of DC should read. Now, how does this go back together with DC Blackout? Well, it does. Like I said before, this is a fun read, and it was a 6-issue miniseries. If you were to give Evan Narcisse a 20-issue series, a solid 20 issues, with Miguel Mendoza, I love you, Nicholas, but like Miguel Mendoza was the better drawer here because there wasn't a moment where the artwork looked pretty, juvenile. He was consistent, and I like this design of the new Batsuit. If you get them two together and you put them both on the new Static comic, a solo Static comic, I promise you, something great's gonna happen. I guarantee it. And that's all I gotta say. Ciao.